Okay, now that we have our lightbox working, as you can see here, what we want to do next is go back to our script file, and let's actually look at making this thing a function now. And making a function is actually very simple. You should have already probably before this done the very simple function exercises. And in fact, most of what we've just done is really not the complexity of making a function. It's, you know, the complexity of just making the script. And now what we're going to do is add some simple functionality as a function, no pun intended. So we're going to go to the top of the script here, and the easiest thing that we can do is just right after the initial PHP tag, we can go ahead and declare the function like this, and we're going to call it display, and I'm doing camel case, display images like this. And then we do an open curly brace, and then at the very end we'll come down to the very bottom and inside of the PHP tag, and we'll close that curly brace, and I'm going to put a comment down here that says end function. In fact, I'll put end display images function. Okay, and then also to be really clear, I'm going to put down here at the end of this last curly brace before the function closes, I'm going to put end file exists, because remember this was our test to see if the file actually existed. So so that's what we're going to do right there. Okay. Now watch what happens if I hit save and then I go back to my page and I refresh. It loads nothing. Okay. Well, the problem is, actually there is no problem, it's doing exactly as I was expecting it to, is that all of the stuff that we just did is now wrapped up in a function, and we declared the function but we did not call the function. Declaring the function is creating it, and what we've done now is we've created the function. To actually use it or call it, we have to come down here somewhere else in the page, and I'm going to put a PHP tag, and we're going to say display images like this. Okay, and that right there is calling the function or using the function. Okay, so here we're going to say use function, and we'll get rid of this later. This is just a note for us right now. Okay, so that's using the function or calling the function. Whereas up here what we're doing is we are creating or declaring the function. Okay, so that's what's happening. That's the difference. All right, so let's save this, and now let's test it again. And you see that it does everything that's inside of that function. Okay, now that's all good and well, but the thing is we don't really want it to do all of these things all at once when we create the function. So the idea is that we could create something that could either create a background image, or it could create you know, a lightbox gallery or a random image. Okay, so what we need to do is, first of all, we need to be able to pass some parameters into this function to make it a little bit better. And before we go in and try to tell it what to do down here, we need to be able to also make it a little bit more flexible in terms of like what album we're going to grab, what target gallery we're going to grab, and so forth. So to do that, what we can do up here is add some arguments. And we're adding arguments when we declare the function. We're adding arguments in variable form, and those variables get passed down into the function. And that way, whenever somebody tells down in here, when they're calling the function, when they tell the function what arguments to use, those arguments will then up here get passed in as variables into the function. So for instance, let's say that we want to tell it an album. So first of all, we're going to need to tell it album_. And I'm going to say album dir in camel case, like as in album directory, okay? So what's going to happen now if we have album directory is I'm going to copy this, okay? And then I'm going to come down here, and instead of where it says album equals galleries, I am going to get rid of galleries, and I'm going to leave the /, but before the / string, I'm going to paste and concatenate. So I'm going to say album equals albumdir dot /, and then I can get rid of this thing that says later this will be grabbed from a function argument, okay? And what this is going to do is whenever down below somebody goes in to use or call the displayImages function, they will type in a parameter or an argument that's going to identify which album to use, okay? And then that will get then from here will get passed down into here, and then it will be concatenated with a / on the end. So for instance, if I were to go down where I'm calling my function, now it is required that I pass a string in with something that says, like, for instance, galleries, okay? So let's just save that. Go back here, let's do a refreshing test, and you can see here that it's working because it's finding galleries. If I were to go back there, for instance, though, and say, I don't know, let's say images, which does not exist, okay, let's save this, hit refresh, and you see the selected gallery is not available, okay? So far our error checking is working. So let's go back to saying galleries. And notice that I'm not putting the / down here because up here I am automatically concatenating that at the end. Okay. Now we can also require a second argument. So I'm going to put a comma there. And the second argument is going to be which gallery we're going to use. So I'm going to call something, I'm going to make a variable called which gallery, like that in camel case. And I'm going to copy this thing that I just created, and I'm going to go down where it says target gallery, and I'm going to do the exact same thing that I just did, right? Which is going to leave that last trailing /, and I'm going to say which gallery first, then concatenate with that trailing /. And then again, I'm going to get, and I could remove this like I did before, but instead, I'm just going to change this, and I'm going to say pulled from function arg2. That way I know that it's coming from the function, the second function argument. And I'll copy this actually, and I'll put it right here. And they'll say pulled from function arg1. Okay? And then that way it's a reminder when you look at this that you know that it's being pulled. And because we already created this target gallery as a variable, what's really cool is that now that's just going to already be passed down constantly as target gallery. So the only place that we had to actually say which gallery and change it is right here. Right? So that's one of the benefits that maybe you couldn't see earlier about making all of these little individual directory paths with variables. But now you can see how much easier it is that we don't have to go and substitute it in a ton of different places. So let's save that, and let's look down below. And actually, before we even add our second parameter, our second argument, let's save it and let's test it, and you'll see what kind of error message we get. Let's hit refresh, and it says missing argument 2 for displayImages. That's because we are now requiring 2 arguments in our function. Whenever we declare or create our function, you can see at the top, we are now telling it that it requires 2 arguments. Whereas down below, when we're calling it, we only have 1 argument. So what I need to do is I need to put the comma, and I need to tell it which gallery in string format to use. Let's say that instead of responsive design this time, I have one called scripting. And if you wanted to just double check and look at your file system, you could see what the names of the folders were for the galleries. And so I'm going to save this, and now I can do a refresh. And you can see it grabs a wholly new set of images, which is wonderful. And then I could even do it as a test down here. I think I have one called content_management. Okay, save that, refresh, and then boom, it swaps out those images every time. And that's really great, right? Really simple. Okay, so now that that's done, the other thing that you can do, you can still pass yet a third argument. And the third logical argument to pass would be, which kind of display mode do you want to use? All right, so let's call the third argument as display, and I'm going to use camel case display mode. All right, so what do I mean by that? Let's go down to where we're actually doing some stuff with our images. Well, down here where we grab a random image, and we grab a background image, and we grab our thumbnail gallery, well, maybe I don't want to have to choose to do every single one of those things all at once. So ideally what we could do is we could create a switch case down here. Okay, so I could come in and I'm just going to make a new PHP block just to keep things really simple. And I'm going to say PHP, and let's just go ahead and do this for right now. And I'm going to say switch, and then I'm going to, the switch case that I'm going to test is display mode. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is start this, and then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to, after my last, my thumbnail gallery part, I'm going to go down here after my last UL, and actually where it's got my PHP, and I'm going to do end switch. Okay, that's going to be the ending of my switch case. And right now it's throwing errors because my switch mode is actually not properly formatted, but I can put a comment that says end switch display mode. Okay, and I'm going to come back up here, and we need to add some cases. So first of all, we're going to say switch display mode, and in the case of, let's say that we want the parameter to be IMG, so that when we pass the parameter, it'll be IMG. So in the case of IMG, then we are going to do the following things. And then at the end of that, what we have to do is we have to come down here, and in PHP, when we're finished with it, we have to break, like this. Okay, and then the next thing that we would do is come down here in our PHP, and we need to say case of, and then let's say in this case we're going to say background, so that when we call for background, it knows to grab that background image. And then again down here, we're going to add some PHP, and we're going to break. And then lastly, we'll come down here and we'll say in the case of Lightbox, we'll do the following. And at the end of our UL, we'll, again, just to be consistent, we'll say break. And now you see the errors all go away down here, because now I've completed my switch case. Let's save that. And again, I can't just test it because, watch, well, let's just test it and you'll see what happens. If I hit refresh, you see, well, now we actually have a syntax error, it says, on line 75. So it says that there's something unexpected on line 75. So let's check that out and see what's going on. And I think maybe what it doesn't like is, I think it doesn't like this. Okay, and it looks like the error kind of went away. So let's see what happens if I save that and do another test. We should get a different error. Exactly, this is what I was expecting. So we were expecting an argument 3 for display images because we made it mandatory, and then we didn't put it. And then it tells me, hey, there's an undefined variable called display mode for that switch statement. So let's go back here and let's actually fix that. And the way that we fix that is we go down and we give it a third parameter, or a third argument. So we're going to say, let's say that we want to do the IMG first, the random image. Let's save that, and then we'll come back and refresh, and you see that it automatically, every time I refresh, it gives me that random image. And then now if I come back and let's say that I want to do the background, save that, refresh, and you see I get a background image. And then lastly, let's try our lightbox. Let's save that, refresh, and then you see we're getting our light box, and it's working as expected.